Hello and welcome to GG Weekend Watch, and we are back in our natural habitats again, back on a Zoom call. Myself, Kate Tracey, alongside Dave Young and Andrew Mount, following on from our Cheltenham Festival preview show special that we recorded in London last week. So thank you so much to all of you who viewed that, who got involved in the comment section as well. We really hope that you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed recording it. But we are back now again, back in our respective homes as well, to look forward to this weekend's racing. Little bits and pieces, what we can kind of muster up from selection's sake. But we're also going to revisit the selections that the lads put up on the Cheltenham Festival preview show last week, because plenty has changed, as we know, as is the want of horse racing from day to day. So the lads have the opportunity to mix up some of those selections again and super sub a few other selections into their top 10 list as well. So yeah, lads, great to speak to you again. Now we're going to begin at Sandown this weekend with the Imperial Cup. This comes up at 2:25. Imperial Cup handicap hurdle, the feature race of this weekend. 4-year-olds and over 2 mile 5. So Dave, I will go to you first, please. We've currently got about 7-1 the field. So at least we've got a super competitive race to tee us up nicely for Cheltenham.
Absolutely, yeah. And I was saying to Andrew just before we came on that it's quite hard to look at racing like this when I've been like deep into the Cheltenham study, because you assume that everything that's going to Cheltenham is trying, and you look at a race like this and you think, well, are they just not good enough to run at Cheltenham, or has there been a target, or is it just a day out on a Saturday? So I've got a few that would be on the short list. As it stands at the moment, we've got 7-1 Beau Zenith at the head of the market. Batman Girac's had a little bit of money come for him. He's from 10s into 8-1. I want to see how much the market moves on a few of these to decide where my final selection would come from. But I do quite like Beau Zenith. I thought he had a chance in the Coral Cup. So the fact they're trying him at 2 miles would be a negative in my view. If I think he's going to win the Coral Cup or go close in there, then he's got to be 2 mile 5. This shouldn't really suit. And I don't think running him here and then a quick turnaround will help either, because I kind of felt like last time when he ran at Ascot, maybe that came too soon, and that was like a longer gap than this will be. So I like him as a horse. Don't actually think he's that well handicapped, but he's going to land a big pot at some point, and in Hendo we trust. So he's on the short list. Batman Girac, I mentioned, is on the short list. He was eye-catching in the Dublin Racing Festival. He fell 2 out. He was kind of travelling alongside Stormheart. Then Stormheart was probably a length or so ahead of him when he fell at the last. But I think that was reasonably good form. And he's only a 5-year-old. That was his first run where he looked sort of back to the promise that he showed before. UK marker 135 definitely looks a workable mark for him. And I think that was JJ Slevin's first ride on him since Daryl Jacobs retired. He'd been quite keen under Daryl Jacobs. So he just looks the right type for this type of race. And obviously Willie Mullins' horse tipping him up is quite easy with Cheltenham around the corner, isn't it? The one that looks phenomenally well treated, those last year's winner, Go Dante. He's £2 lower than last year's mark. I think he's £25 better off with lump sum than the 6 lengths he was behind him in that Welsh National at the start of the season. He does not normally need his first run, but he's had a wind up since. He's been pretty pants since as well. But it could be that this has been a little bit of a long-term plan for Ollie Murphy. Maybe they started off with that Welsh National and they're coming back for this, but I can't remember the last time a 9-year-old won this race. Probably not many have. So he was on the short list. One that did tick all the boxes for the friends that I did in this was Ubeti. The only thing that Ubeti doesn't tick the trends for is age, and a 7-year-old last winner of that was 2011. So puts me off to a small extent, but I'd give Ubeti a bit of a chance. Has got course and distance winning form as well, so that's a positive. And then even going right down to the bottom, that Sorcerer for Paul Nicholls and Harry Cobden. I swear the last couple of times they've ridden that, it looked like they were waiting to win something with him. This is a massive step up in terms of what they're asking for him to go and do. But 33-1 looks huge. He's 10 stone 2, I think he's off. I remember when Malaya won this, I think me and you both put him up that day, Kate. He made a couple of bad mistakes, but he just won nicely, and he was obviously set up for the race. So he's semi-interesting, but like I said at the start, like I've got a long short list. I want to see where the market comes out with it. Push comes to shove for a selection now, I would be siding with Batman Girac, but if he's weak in the market, then I wouldn't be interested, but he looks fairly strong so far.
Yeah, Batman, he's funny horse, he is. He's yeah, just so keen and just does so much wrong still, doesn't he? But definitely the ability's there when everything comes good. About 8-1 then, but a good shout for Sorcerer at 33-1, just to keep an eye on all the same. Andrew, Imperial Cup.
Yeah, I like this race. It's a good trends race. 9 of the last 10 winners have come from off the pace. And looking at the pace map doesn't always tell you how horses are going to be ridden this time, but you could just back every horse who was ridden patiently in its prep race. You'd have found the last 10 winners and made a profit of 56 quid. Horses who led or made the running last time out, 0 from 81. So do be very careful if your horse is generally goes from the front. The top three weights have struggled as well. 0 from 34 across the last 10 renewals, which could make life difficult for Lump Sum, Knickerbocker Glory, and Bow Zenith. And last time out winners have also struggled. 1 from 41 in the past 10 renewals, and a loss of £34. Now, yeah, Batman Girac, I can see the case based on that DRF run. Although you look at Willie Mullins' record in British handicap hurdles outside of the Cheltenham Festival, it's only 3 winners from 69 runners this century for a loss of £18. Although those 3 winners have come sort of, there's been a couple of 16-to-1 shots fairly recently. The 9-year-old stat, I wouldn't let that worry you. Only 13 have tried in the last 10 years. One of those was Favois, who was second by a short head to Go Dante last year. Another one was third at 20-to-1, and most of them are massive prices. And the expected number of winners for those 13 runners is only 0.35. Now, Go Dante is interesting. As Dave said, he's £2 lower this time around. He tends to come good at this time of year. He's had 3 runs in the month of March in his career. He's won every single one. I thought he looked on the way back when 7th of 17 to Joyers at Newbury in the William Hill hurdle last time out. So he's on the short list. I didn't like Betty because of the prominent style. The one I'm going to side with is Spirits Bay, though. Won twice at Exeter last term when ridden patiently, and I'm guessing those tactics are going to be employed again. He has sort of tended to once or twice he's been ridden near the pace, but that tends to be in smallish fields. He's only 5 lengths behind Constitution Hill in the international hurdle. When I put him up each way at 100-to-1, hoping he was going to finish second. And he's had 4 runs right-handed in his career, 3 wins and a second. So Spirits Bay's got a good chance. Go Dante, the danger. And because Chase a Dream was also interesting. He's another patiently ridden runner. A dual winner at Carlisle. His 3 runs right-handed. Those 2 Carlisle wins and a 3/4 of a length second. So, yeah, 3 hold-up horses. Spirits Bay over Go Dante over to Chase a Dream. There's your TriCast.
There you go. Nicely done. That would definitely get revenue for the Cheltenham Kitty then, wouldn't it? If that TriCast manages to come off the main selection for the win purposes, Spirits Bay, they're very interesting at 10-to-1. Right, now, we're not doing things in chronological order. It's the week before Cheltenham, so we're just kind of throwing everything out into the mix at this point. So we're actually going to go back in time now to the first race at Sandown, the 150, the EBF Fund Betfair National Hunt Novices Handicap Hurdle, final Premier Handicap for the 4 to 7-year-olds over 2 mile 4. Andrew, always a fascinating race, always loads of clues for your next season horses to be keeping an eye on as well then. So who took your eye?
We do EBF final, is this, sorry?
We are, yes, we're jumping back in time, sir.
Yeah, not looked at this in enough detail yet to offer a concrete selection. I've still get cold sweats from this race when I had one called Diamond Brook, who was back from 20s into 10 and I think finished 10th, because the jockey was a mate of, I think it's Peter O'Toole, who was a mate of Daryl Jacobs, was put on because he was the yard second string. He came into the paddock, looked like he had a wooden leg because he was injured. And we completely put away. Daryl doing his mate a favour, putting him on our horse, and he couldn't walk, let alone ride. So yeah, not a happy race for me as an owner. So I'll pass on this one.
You're absolutely fine. You've given your workings for why you're passing at this point as well, which we respect a lot. So fair dues. Dave, who do you like?
Yeah, so I've got one I do quite like a bit in here. It's a good looking race, to be fair. Kemble Bury's got first time tongue tie on, which might excuse why he got turned over odds on last time. He's got a big weight swing with Meet by the Sea. They're sort of vying for favouritism at the top of the market with Belliano just behind. Kim Bailey with first time tongue ties, it's got like an okayish record. I think it's about 17% since probably the century. I think I've gone back on the stats there. If you go for the last few years, so 2023, 2024, 2025, goes up to 24%, 6 winners from 25 and an 80% return on investment. So like all positive things from that perspective, but it's still got to be a very individual thing, isn't it? Like when you put in a piece of a headgear or a tongue tie onto a horse, you can't just put it on and it makes them better than before. And he is now stepping up in trips. So unless this has been a long-term plan and they just got him beat last time to keep his mark where it was and they put a tongue tie on to try and be sneaky, I would be worried about the Kemble Brewery for all that I think he is better than his mark. The other horse that is definitely better than his mark is Belliano for Paul Nicholls and Harry Cobden. He's only been beaten once in his 4 runs. He's won a point and then he's had a couple of hurdle runs. The time he got beat was behind the New Lion at Chepstow, which was right at the start of the season. And if we can remember that far back, lots of people were saying, and probably rightly so, that Paul Nicholls' horses needed their runs, and it still didn't stop me fancying Brave Man's Game. in a Charlie Hall chase. Oh, let's probably not bring that up. But he's rated 125, and I think he'll be able to easily leave that well behind him. Whatever way we pitched the New Lion, there's no doubt in anyone's mind that he's already a 140s novice. It's just whether I guess he can take the step up further. This horse was only a handful of lengths behind him, and he was sent off 5-2 against the New Lion at the start of the season, so fairly well regarded. I think when they bumped into a horse, they've had a couple of cosy runs since, and his penultimate start, the runner-up's come out and won, and that horse is rated 122 himself, but Belliano could have beaten him with any amount in that race. So I think his marker 125 looks pretty good. We know that he likes the trip, whereas I mentioned with the Kemble Brewery and even Meet by the Sea, we're not 100% sure they'll like it. The trainer and jockey have done well in this race. Two wins in the last 5 renewals they've had in here. I just cannot see how he's possibly out the frame. We've got a decent side field as well. Some firms are offering 5 places. He will like the ground as it is as well. They're watering a bit of Sandown, but it's good to soft. It'll be perfect for him. He has everything in his favour to run a massive race here. So 11-2 feels like an absolute free swing as an each way bet. He'd be one of the strongest fancies of Saturday, spoiler alert.
Oh, spoiler alert as well then. So yeah, we will know our fate early with the ITV televised races, because that is the first one on their schedule as well, the 150 at Sandown. Now we're going to switch across though to the second ITV televised race from Hereford, the 205. Now this is a handicap chase. This is a 0 to 140 contest over 2 miles. So Dave, we don't have a big field to go at in this one, unfortunately, but you wanted to flag this up all the same.
Yeah, it's mad. Williethebuilder's making his chase debut like a few days before he was due to run in a county hurdle at Cheltenham. And a few people were saying because of Dan Skelton like having a good record in the county, maybe he was like a lively outsider in that. But the thing about this horse is he is an ex-pointer. I think it was 2.5 miles around his point. He's going to improve for a fence. It's probably a strange time to be sticking him over fences, but maybe the horse is just working the house down. They've got him ready to like some sort of Cheltenham form, and they thought, let's have a crack here because it is good ground, which will probably suit him. The favourite Western General, as much as he's okay at 2 miles, is okay at 2 miles because he handles slow ground. So I think he's a bad favourite in here. So I don't know if I'd be brave enough to back Williethebuilder. He's already been supported. He's 9-2 into 7-2 by the time we've recorded this. And there's a chance with a horse like this, especially Skelton and the money coming for him, and a horse that people have thought a lot about in the past, he may end up being sort of 2 to 1 by the time this video goes out. So maybe not so much for betting purposes, but I thought he was very interesting all the same.
Yeah, like I say, the fact that he was potentially going to be rocking up at Cheltenham, the absolute double bluff then. What's he doing here? Yeah, but maybe they've got their days confused. Who knows? Now, if anyone's not going to, Dan Skelton is the one who definitely would not be.
Well,
Andrew, did you want...
Sorry, it's the fact is he's chased debut as well, Kate.
Yeah.
Like late enough in the season to be doing that, and it's not really worth a lot of money if they're doing it with him. But the fact there's a bit of money coming as well, a bit fishy in it.
I still don't like chasing debutantes into open company either. I know that it's for rule change. It's been here for a while now, but I still just don't like it, especially at a track like Hereford. Just, yeah, very strange. Andrew, did you want to look at Hereford, or are you happy to stick on the Wolvers?
Yeah, I'll give my 2 pence worth at Hereford. Yeah, Williethebuilder, when I previewed the county hurdle and put up Dan Skelton's Valgrand, I did say, you know, Williethebuilder might be worth a saver at a big price because of his good record on left-handed tracks. Here he is right-handed on his chase debut. Now, if you back Skelton's chase debutant, so go straight into handicap company, you do all right. 44 winners from 221 bets in his career, 20% strike rate and a profit of £17.21, 8% on turnover. You know, better than expected, but only marginally. The worry is that he has been described as having jumped out to his left on occasion. So, you know, you look at his record right-handed over hurdles, it's pretty poor, you know, albeit from sort of limited opportunities. The last time he went right-handed, he pulled up at Ascot when he was 10 to 1. Before that, he was last of 6, beating 25 lengths. Before that, 10th of 11, beating 13 lengths. So if he can't operate this way round, it's going to be, you know, accentuated over fences. So I'd be worried, particularly now the money's come. He's you know, 7-2 from 8 to 1 or whatever he is. So you're not getting much in the way of a price. The Western General is going to get taken on for the lead here by Hypotenus, which is the one I was quite interested in, actually. He's done well since joining Joe Tickle, going from the front twice over this trip at Sandown. 50 to 1 third first time, and then only beaten a little over 5 lengths with third or fourth to Excitations last time. I think the easier track and the quicker ground is going to help him. Judged on his Irish form, you know, goodish ground will be ideal. A flatter track after those 2 Sandown runs is going to help him. So even though Western General can go from the front, I don't think he's going to be able to live with this one. So I'll go for Joe Tickle's one. I was quite surprised to see Mackenberg going this way round again. I know he's won right-handed on several occasions. but that was quite a while ago, and he did jump out to his left. And you look at the last time he ran here at Hereford, he had a complete disaster. I'll give you the Racing Post in running description. Jumped left throughout, jumped badly left two out, soon left clear, went further clear, went hung left approaching last, hit last, saddle slipped and unseated. So basically, he just wants to go out to his left all the time. And while he got away with it back in the early parts of his career, he hasn't done so for some time. So yeah, I think Hypotenus, good run for your money kind of bet. Certainly, if you're an in-running trader, it'll be a good angle as well.
Yeah, and really interesting with Taylor Fisher, who is Joe Tickle's stepson, the fact that he obviously was very prolific then on the flat, but is turning his hand. I was kind of dual really then over jumps as well. But yeah, in a Hereford handicap chase, fair play to him on Hypotenus there.
I've got a lot of time for Joe Tickle. He was pupil assistant to Nick Williams. He used to look after Rev to Sibler back in the day. So.
Did he? I didn't even know that.
Yeah.
No, I actually didn't know that. That's where he was beforehand. Yeah,
his sister Leander was there as well. At the,
yes. Oh, she was amazing. She was my absolute idol growing up. When I got to ride against her in point to points, I was just awestruck. Just a really lovely family all over the Tickles there. Wish them every bit of luck as well. Right, we ourselves are now switching back to the flat for the 245 at Wolverhampton, a Lincoln Trial handicap for the 4-year-olds and over, 0 to 105 contest over a mile and half a furlong. So even though we're building up to Cheltenham, we've just been discussing a load of jumps races. The flat's always lingering in the background there, Andrew, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And this race, since the Tapito was introduced to Wolverhampton, August 2014. So that's 9 runnings of this race we've had on the current surface. And if you just back last time out winners in that period, 6 winners from 31 bets, profit of £9.50 to a £1 level stake. So it doesn't really matter whether that last time out win came on turf or whether there's been a mixed bag. I think we've got 4 qualifiers this time around. I notice there's been money for Zafandia, 14 to 1 from 20s, Josephine Gordon's mount, trained by Kieran Burke. If you back Josephine Gordon riding for the yard, you make a good profit. This one, it was only a handicap at Kempton last time out, a class 3 handicap, I should say. But it was quite a sort of smooth success, but despite starting at a big price. A little bit worried about stall 1, not always easy to win from round the inside here, particularly with that hold-up style. So I've sort of reluctantly deserted Zafandia, but I think Bajan Bandit 20 to 1, one of the other last time out winners, would have a squeak. But I think you're looking at the likes of Great Chieftain and Symbol of Light. Great Chieftain was a winner at Newmarket when I last saw him. Stall 11, not ideal. Symbol of Light, not super drawn either, but draw-wise, being wide in this race hasn't been that much of a disadvantage recently. And he's got early speed as well. He made all at Southall last time to win by almost 4 lengths. So I might just chance Symbol of Light, assuming he's going to be able to break smartly and get a good position from a tricky draw.
13 to 2 as well, so a nice price to boot. Right, we're going to head back to Sandown again now for the 3 o'clock. This is the Mares Bumper listed race for the 4 to 6-year-olds over 2 miles. Dave, did you have any sort of impression on this race?
I definitely did. Yeah, this is a tidy little race, to be fair. There's always some nice types that go in there, and it is a big target race for the mares that are bumpering. Charisma Cat was very eye-catching last time out, and well, I say thankfully, but in the context of this race, thankfully she didn't quite get up on the line because it saved her a £4 penalty, and she put a good distance between herself and Dream Shadow, who was the favourite that day, in the closing stages. Now, we've said it many times on this channel about Alan King and sticking to the rail and things like that, but she got herself into a really bad position. She was boxed in. When she finally managed to get herself out, she started to fly. Did take her a little time to get going, but stiff finish like Sandown's only going to suit her. She's just going to be staying on all the way through the line. I thought 2 to 1 about her was quite fair. Supreme Molinas is carrying the penalty. If the ground had been soft, she probably would have been able to get away with carrying that penalty.
Do you think it will be that quick at Sandown? I know it's drying out all around the country, but given how much water they generally put on, on the flat course over the summer, and given the height of the water table and how Sandown always sort of say their ground's quicker than it is, I was just wondering whether it will be that quick or not.
Yeah, probably won't be that quick, but I wouldn't Supreme Molinas does look like a horse that needs at least soft. So I know good to soft Sandown she might about get away with it, but if it would have been slower, I think it would have helped her chance a bit more to carry that penalty. If she didn't have the penalty, I'd again be given a bit more of a chance. But she does, Andrew. And as much as they're watering it, there's some dark green on their turf tracks report this morning. There's actual good ground at Sandown apparently, but yeah, it's always take with a pinch of salt there, isn't it? But Charisma Cat will be fine if it's like a little bit deep in there. Stamina will come into play for that. The only horse that would be the fly in the ointment, so I will back Charisma Cat, and I'll have a definite saver on Philippa's Choice. Top price 16 to 1, but low as 7 to 1 in places, which I think is more representative of her chance. She was good off the front at Huntingdon last time, and while this is a very different type of test, if one's going to go and get loose from this Charisma Cat that she's going to have to chase down and maybe not get there again, Philippa's Choice is the one that would be that. But if all's like fair and well, Charisma Cat, if she doesn't get herself in a bad position, which Sandown's wide enough, she should be fine. I think she's a reasonably good bet at 2 to 1, but it is the ladies, and I don't seem to do so well with the ladies.
Only you can say that in this one, Dave. Great name though, isn't it, Charisma Cat? Not that we're tipping up on names, but I just hope that her nickname is Kiwi, who's currently outside and not bothering me for once on the show. So maybe she was put out by not being invited to London last time, but this is absolutely fantastic for me to be able to concentrate for once. Right, we're going to move back to Wolverhampton again now for the 320. The Lady Wolf-Runa, is that how you say it? Lady Wolf-Runa Stakes, the listed contest for the 4-year-olds and over 7 furlongs. Andrew, I'm not sure if you had an opinion on this one or on the mare's bumper that we've just covered, so I'll just throw it over to you.
Yeah, there's quite a good angle in terms of looking for fresh horses in this race. If you backed horses who'd been off the track for 100 days or longer, 5 winners from 29 bets since it was the new surface was put down, a profit of £24.23 to a £1 level stake at SP. So whereas in the Lincoln trial, hasn't really been a disadvantage to sort of or an advantage to sort of race on the all-weather last time out, it does seem to be here, and looking for the fresh horses is helpful. Now, sadly, the first 4 in the market are all coming from off the break, although given the way the track's been riding and that you don't want to be on that inside rail quite often, then I would be a little bit concerned about store 1 for Jabara here, particularly given that patient running style, because if it's going to be drier, the track might be sort of dry and powdery, the kickback might be worse than it has been for a lot of the winter, and I thought she could find herself with sand kicked in the face, and at 2 to 1 I was sort of quite happy to leave that alone. So William Twee is another one who's likely to come from off the pace, being trained by James Fanshawe. She's coming out of stall 4, but she will be happier back at this track, having been beaten at Kempton and Newcastle since winning here last August. But I think of the rest, I might go for Al Shabab Storm for Marco Botti. And I know we're sort of having a bit of a guess up here based on that first run for the yard since leaving Andrew Balding. But the yard's come into a bit of form of late, and although weak in the betting from the original show, I thought Al Shabab Storm could be the way to go. Just really, it's a sort of taking on the favourite, and that draws the angle here.
For the Marcos then, Al Shabab Storm, Marco Gianni for Marco Botti at 4 to 1, taking on Jabara at the head of the market. Right, the final ITV contest on Saturday comes from Sandown. This is the 3:35 handicap chase, 0 to 135 contest, 5 rods and over 3 miles. So Dave, no doubt you've got an opinion in this, but you've only got 6 runners to go at.
Yeah, easy one. There's only 2 we need to talk about as well, because the only the only horses that could win this, in my opinion, are Dreaming Blue and Ho Jolie Smoke. Now, Ho Jolie Smoke, if he wasn't a bleeder, I would really fancy for this race. He was favourite for the Coral Mandarin at Christmas, where he did bleed again. He's bled in the past, and he ran here on his penultimate start, albeit on really bad ground, but just absolutely hacked up. And there's some early season form for him too that stands up to suggest that 127 is definitely not really showing the full focus of what his ability could be. But of course, like I say, the fact that he's a bleeder, that may be the case that we just never get to find out what his true high level is. So he's the type of horse where, unfortunately, because of that, like I wouldn't want to put him up as a bet. I wouldn't want to actually bet him, but then you don't really want to take him on the fact that you're not necessarily hoping they're going to bleed, but you're considering that as an actual factor in the race. But if he doesn't win this, because for any reason, Dreaming Blue's the only one I think that could possibly take advantage of it. But yeah, I like Ho Jolie Smoke. Of course, with this, we do like to have a bet in a race, don't we? But he's the type of horse that I'll be looking forward to just watching, hoping he gets round. And if he goes and romps up, then I'd be just as happy as if I'd had a tenner or a score on him, I suppose.
Okay, fair enough then. Yeah, that's the way to play it, all the same. Andrew, any opinion on this race, or do you want to kick on with the Cheltenham stuff?
I quite like Dreaming Blue, who was second to O'Connell here last time out, and I think he's won his last 2 starts in the month of March, having sort of looked as though he's on his way back with a good run in February, and he's bidding to make it three wins in a row on that angle. So one of those wins did come at Doncaster a couple of years ago, despite the fact that he jumped out to his right all the way round. So he seems fairly sort of versatile ground-wise. So I'll go Dreaming Blue to go one better.
Dreaming Blue to go on better than last time out at 11-4, heading the way. Right, that is this weekend's action done and dusted. So we're going to get a chance now to revisit the top 10 horses, selections, bets that the lads put up on the Cheltenham preview show last week, and their opportunity to mix it up should they want. So Andrew, I'll go back to you first one for this. Just to reiterate your list, at 10 we had Long Presse, 9 Nassau Dumos, 8 L'Enemy, 7 Better Days Ahead, 6 Valgrand, 5 Gidley Park, 4 The Wall Park, 3 Copet de Boards, Next Best Protectorate, and Nap Torrent. Who would you like to revisit?
Well, number 10, Long Presse is not going for the Cheltenham Gold Cup, I'm told. I'm not sure if that's been confirmed yet, but someone did send me a message to say that was going to be the case. So hopefully we'll see him at Aintree. Now, I don't want to replace him with anything else in the Gold Cup. I think Gallopin de Champ's going to win, but after that, I'm not so sure. But I will throw in a different selection, which is in the Ultima on Tuesday, the 250. And I'm going to go for King Turgeon for David Pipe, which is the horse I first mentioned when I previewed this race back in January for GG. And at the time, he was 3 from 3 for the season. He impressed at Chepstow on his comeback when I tipped him in my column. Nice bit of after timing there. Then he went to the Grand Sefton and won. Then he followed that with a win at Cheltenham on the other course, the new course, the December meeting. So I thought he was going to be in the golden zone of 11-1 or shorter, like 9 of the last 10 winners. But then he's gone to Wincanton, got chinned, albeit only beaten 3 lengths into third. And of course, Katate Dory was second in that race. He was a short head behind that one. He came out and won the big race at Kempton, and is prominent in the betting for this race as well. And then bizarrely, after getting defeated on the sharp right-handed track, they've gone to Musselburgh for the 4 miler the other week, and he's never travelling, pulled up, but he's been freshened up since that run in early February. His yard's got a good record in this race. I think more importantly, the drying ground's going to help. If it's genuinely good to soft or quicker, now he's back on a galloping left-handed track. I think King Turgeon can run a race for a yard that's got a good record in the race. So yeah, King Turgeon in the Ultima to replace Long Presse at number 10.
You can have that, and I can currently see 16-1 top price for King Turgeon in the Ultimate as well.
Do you want me to do my other replacements, or are we going to go to Dave?
Oh, we'll mix it up. We'll go to Dave, and then we'll come back to you with it. We're all about giving opportunities here, aren't we? And taking it in turns. Sharing is a good lesson to learn. So we'll go to Dave. Now, Dave, your top 10. At 10, we had Lucky Place, 9 Dino Blue, 8 The Changing Man, 7 Transmission, 6 The Yellow Clay, 5 Ballyburn, 4 Stumptown, 3 Lalamba, Next Best John Bon, and Nap Copec de Boers. Who would you like to change out of your set?
None of them. I'm happy with all of them, but I'll quit on this little part. I'll do the top 5, the bottom 5, so the 10 to 6 bit. Just the thoughts of where I am with them now, because obviously the ground is drying up quite nicely. Tiapu's starting to drift a bit on the exchanges as expected with the forecast ground. So still pretty happy with Lucky Place, but like I say, he's down the bottom of the list for a reason. Dino Blue in the Mare's Chase. Willie Mullins is, I'm going to say he's annoying me because he's being really positive about Allegory Devassi, and they're saying about how the nice ground's really going to help her, and she flopped early.
Are they going to race right-handed instead of left-handed this
time?
Well, that's it. You get these stable tours, and like if they say something you want to hear, you're like, yep, that confirms it. If they say something you don't want to hear, you think, no, don't believe them unless they're talking a lot of rubbish. But they like the chance of Allegory Devassi. They say that the quicker ground's going to help her out. Dino Blue's been a little bit weak on the exchanges. She was 7-4 top price when we did the recording. She shortened up off the back of that, but I did say when we did that she might go out. So I'm not being put off of her. But I mean, Allegory Devassi, I think I said it in the preview as well. She'd be a brutal blow if she did go and win it. Changing Man, happy with him. The only negative is, I say negative, but Katati Dory that Andrew's touched on, he's a horse that I kicked myself because when we did the preview for it before, I was saying about Charlie Deutsch being the only Sam Thomas horse in the race with having such a good record on it, and he absolutely hacked up, didn't he? And I'm kicking myself because the time before I knew that the horse was well handicapped. Him winning that has now meant that he's going to get into the Ultima, which is like almost a double kick in the nuts, because if he goes and beats the Changing Man, I do genuinely I want to say see him as a I do see him as a threat. No, I say I do see him as a threat. Although his mark, I don't know, maybe limits him now. The positive I've got with that is that I think one winner's won having run 17 days or closer to the festival. That was Marlborough back in 2000, and he was second in the race that Katati Dory run. So it would have potentially been an okay stat for Highland if he'd have come here, but it doesn't. But I'm a little bit nervous about Katati Dory. So as much as I was bullish on the Changing Man, and I still am, it's because you get so close to it, you start to get worried, didn't you? But I'm not. Speaking of being worried, Patrick's on transmission in the National Hunt Chase. So I don't mind it, to be honest with you, because he's definitely the type of horse transmission that if he gets on with someone, he gets on with someone. So I know people may potentially look at it as a negative, considering it's open to professional jockeys. But in Patrick's we trust, and I know it's a different type of race now, but no jockey has more wins in the National Hunt Chase than Patrick Mullins. He's got 4 of them.
Don't give me that.
You can prove anything with stats. But yeah, the way the ground's come as well, I didn't give the Irish much of a chance before, but I give them 0 chance now the ground's coming as it's coming. So 1 for the Brits. And then the yellow clay, we still don't definitely 100% know what's happening, but it looks potentially, from what the market's saying and the recent vibes, it's probably more likely that Final Demand goes to the Albert Bartlett than the yellow clay does. So where I touched on him for the Turners, I'm still just as sweet on him, and I really like the fact that this ground's coming up for him. So of those ones at the bottom 5, that's sort of my current standings on them. Fairly happy would be the general consensus, though.
Nicely done. Yeah, the yellow clay and the Final Demands that yellow clay should be going for the Albert Bartlett and Final Demand for the Turners.
Didn't you watch the preview, Kate? I told you why.
I was there, and I still disagreed, even though I respected your case massively. Just on the mare's chase, I want to ask you: is Spindleberry definitely going to Fairy House and skipping Cheltenham from the vibes that we're getting? I haven't seen any further update, but I'm pretty sure that was the last I heard. And I would love her to go for the mare's chase. And if they were talking up Allegory de Vassy, I was just wondering if they might have been talking up Spindleberry as well. But I'll leave Dave with that project because I've just chucked it at him. And I'll go back to Andrew for any further super subs, Andrew, that you'd like.
Because I've lost Gidley Park in the Arkle.
Yeah,
and
that was unfortunate. News broke as we were recording. Very much so.
I'm still willing to take on Madgeborough at a desperately skinny price in the hope expectation that his jumping isn't good enough for Cheltenham, even though there's going to be about 3 runners. And of the others, I mean, Django Bay for Nicky Henderson, he's won with 4 of his last 9 runners in this race, albeit most of them are shorter in the betting than Django Bay is. But this horse has never been out the first 2 in his career. And while the trip might seem to be on the sharp side, particularly if the ground's drying out, I think he's solid enough as an each way alternative to the Jolly, or back him to win at sort of 6-7 to 1, whatever he is now. And if you're concerned about the prospect of Madgeborough being the second coming, then stick him in a exacta or computer straight forecast to beat Django Bay into second. But the more I look at it now, the more I think maybe Django Bay rather than Lotus Sud is the one. Other than the favourite in the race, so you can confidently side with each way.
8 to 1 top price I can see about Django Bay as well. Then for a mix up for Andrew in the Arkle. Andrew, I'll stick with you then for any further super subs.
Can you just run? Because there is another one of mine that's
so you've got at 9 you have That'll Do Moss.
Yeah, That'll Do Moss goes to Punchestown, I believe. Now there is an Aidan O'Brien stablemate in there. Is it Shio Gal? Who I thought might have some sort of chance, but I'm going to scrub that race from my consideration and replace it with one in the Coral Cup, who's around about 66 to 1, which is Anna Bonina for John McConnell. The mare. Now she's always been a spring, summer, early autumn horse. She's won 10 times in her career. Every single win's come between the April and October period. But she's also gone well in the month of March before. She's had 3 handicap runs at the Cheltenham Festival. She was 8th of 25 behind Belfast Banter, went 125 to 1 for the County Hurdle in 2021. Only got beaten 5 lengths, staying on strongly. 2 years later, she ran in the county again, this time finishing 28 to 1, 9th of 24 behind Favois, only beaten 7 lengths. And then last year, she ran in the Pertemps final. Bear in mind, she's run well twice over 2 miles at the festival. It seemed quite an odd move to run in that race. And but she's run well again. She was 22 to 1. She's finished 7th of the 22 runners. And reportedly finished was distressed, suffering from post-race heat stress. So it looks obvious that this in between trip of 2 miles 5 is going to be her ideal Cheltenham Festival trip. And she got to say she's good from March to October in handicap company. I think she's won 7 of her 25 starts. And I just thought she could be, staying well into a place at around about sort of 50 to 1 or bigger. So Anna Bunina, I should say, each way in the Coral Cup.
I was with her in the Potem. She was my tip for the Potems last year for the each way play. And I thought I was on for it. And then she goes and finished 7th, even with the extra places. I wasn't getting the 7 out of her for that one, frustratingly. But 66 to 1, for Anna Bonina this time around, then for the Coral Cup. So backing trip from last year, potentially. Dave, anything else you wanted to look at from your list, or did you have any joy of my Spindleberry request?
Yeah, so your Spindleberry, I think he says she goes there and she's got an each way chance. So, and the exchanges would suggest that she's not going there. So I think
to Cheltenham is then.
She's going to go to Cheltenham by the looks of it.
Yes.
So that's that question answered. And then just quickly run through the top 5. Ballyburn, just as much of a good thing as he was when we talked about him on the preview bit. See no danger in that. And obviously with the drying type of ground, not saying Dancing City definitely needs really bad ground, but it's going to make it easier for Ballyburn to win that race, I think. Stumptown in the cross country, still sweet on him. I know people will say, oh, the sun's out, so Galvin must have a chance. But you've got to remember that the cross country course was unraceable last year, and it's already at the moment, they've done an updated report, but it's still like soft. I don't know if it was heavy in places a couple of days ago. I don't know if it's still heavy in places, but it's not going to be good ground on the cross country, regardless of how much sun shines, especially with a little bit of selective water in now. So still keen on Stumptown. I know there's others with chances, but up to Stumptown. Lilamba in the prime, I'm still more than happy with him. I know that the East India dock, I think the closer we get to it and the more previews you go through, people are sort of going for the substance over potentially the potential with Lilamba. But as we get closer now to confirmations, and then we get closer to final declarations, and then when we do get final declarations and the money starts to come in, I think Lilamba is going to be as well backed as he was for the race before he even ran at Ascot. So I expect the money to come for him still, but he is starting to go out a little bit. So hopefully if he can get some 5 to 2 or bigger Lilamba, that don't look too bad. John Bon, no Gary in the champion chase. We needed it because he was a fly in the ointment, because in terms of what a horse is capable of doing, no one knows what he's really capable of doing, because I don't think even he knows. But at least the fact that you take him out of even the decision making, because they've taken him out of this stage. So that's a positive. And you look at Marine Nationale being second favourite, that's won once over fences. It's a madness that you can still get a bit of 5 to 6 John Bonds. We talked about it then. Hopefully you might get some evens, because people are going to be trying to take him on, because everyone hates John Bond for some reason. But he's going to go and win this, and I'm still just as bullish as I was before. And then Copic de Board in the Supreme, he will win. Still exactly the same.
What about the hood angle? Because I also like Copic de Board.
There's no hood, Andrew. It's not happening.
There's talk of him wearing a first-time hood.
There's not. But Gaelic Warrior wore a first-time hood last year. The thing
everything wore a first-time year.
Hurdlers in the Cheltenham Festival, the first-time hood 0 from 34.
Yeah, but the only thing with that, and I do get it, but the only thing with that is there's horses in there that will be like 50 to 1 pokes and all those types of things. Even if you just look at like Willie Mullin's second strings and third strings and fourth strings and fifth strings, even if they weren't wearing a hood, their stats would be atrocious. But the fact is, he's going to be an even money favourite, one of the highest rated ones going in there. And I know there could be a chance to take him on, but the purpose of the fact that I really fancied him in this, and at the price that he is as well, is again, hopefully, I mean, I don't want him to wear a hood, because preferably, with the static stuff, it would just play over my head a little bit. But we might still get a bit more of a price about him. So I'm still just as bullish that he's the right way to start off the festival. I'm confident that he's going to go and win this one.
I mean, he might do a classical dream and pull in the early stages, drift to a big price in running, and then still win easily.
Absolutely. And classical dream on the way to post was mental, wasn't he? That was just a crazy day. But that's the thing with Copic de Board. We just won't know until obviously the race is finished, which I know is an obvious thing to say, but
can we have a bet then after the race is finished?
Well, that's it, yeah. But he was a bit keen going down to the Dublin Racing Festival start as well. I genuinely do just think he's so far clear of everything else. Whatever they do with him is going to be fine. And I know there is word about hood, but I've not heard it from anybody that I would trust. So I don't think he's ever going to wear a hood. So dispel that myth. And even if he does, who cares? It's Copic de Board, isn't it?
So a couple of other snippets. Belgrand. I'm sticking with my county hurdle selection. The word from the yard is positive. Interesting about the Willie Mullins ones in the county hurdle. Looking at the betting at the moment, Carjeezy, whatever you want to call her, is shortening up. and there's quite a few people on the preview circuit who seem to think this one could start favourite for the race and be the mount of Paul Townend potentially. And of course, he only had one handicap ride for Willie Mullins recently at the Cheltenham, or at all at the Cheltenham Festival, and that was absurd because he won. Was it absurd or State Man? So that's an interesting angle to look out for. The Torrance was entered at Sandown on Saturday. Still not certain to get in the Fred Winter. The 6 horses at 121. Weatherby's going to do a ballot to decide what the order is of those, if, like, you know, only sort of 2 or 3 of them or even one of them get in. But I'd still give them a good chance each way in the Fred Winter on Tuesday.
Beautiful. Beautifully done, lads. I'm going to chuck some selections into the mix as well because I
Lovely.
haven't done so yet, so I may as well do. So I'm completely rowing in with Dave and the Supreme of Copet de Board. Still don't think that's a bad old price. And yeah, I hope he doesn't get the hood. I really hope. They don't really do the red hoods at Mullins's to just wear down to the sides, kind of hood or nothing. And everything was wearing a first-time hood last year, as we know. And it came good then for Gaelic Warrior, for Gary. But yeah, Copet de Board, though, I hope he doesn't get it. And like I say, he just does a classical dream and is a big bowling ball and manages to get there all the same. William Money, I know that he's been the kind of the shrewdiest judges horse to be taking on Copet de Board with, but he saw my balaclava of the each way play all the same. Yeah, I think Margeborough will just go and win the Arkle. Again, I'm with Dave in the ultimate of the changing man. The trends are all saying so. If the experience he's got, the confidence booster from his Ascot win last time out, then the changing man still has to be for me. So absolutely love him there. Bit of Grandeur Dame in there as well. If he does go down that route, if he steps up in trip rather than 6 for 2.5, then I thought he was interesting. Dysart Enos I'll be giving a chance to, depending on how the mare's hurdle works out. We still don't know at this point, but from the each way play, the fact she's a winning pointer, well, a former Irish pointer, then you would have to give her every chance of getting the trip. Then we go down. I've already lost a few horses from certain races, unfortunately, which has been very, very frustrating. But Ballyburn then to win at the Brown Advisory. Impostoir is my horse, so for the Coral Cup. I really hope that he is just being that bit of a lurker, and coming into the Coral Cup on the back of one run in the season has been a positive in recent years as well, which is what he has. And hopefully if he just brushes up his jumping a bit, which has been a bit of an issue for him in his career, you just want to eventually get to see the best of him. Hopefully we will see that at the festival. I'm not going to get my Firefox in the Grand Annual, am I? Which is so frustrating because I thought he had such a good chance in there, but there we are. Then, of course, 6.5 I've been keen on the whole way along in the Mares Novices Hurdle. She has been well backed as a result of that. Jordan's in the Jack Richards Novices Limited Handicap Chase. Just a fascinating horse with a lot of back class from France and his form over in Ireland as well. Carl de Tourelles, he's a big prize for the Pertemps final. So I thought that he was fascinating for Philip Fenton, his trainer, a potential lurker in there. Protectorate has been clipped in the Ryanair, so I'm glad to see further market moves for him to do what he did last year in the race. Third time lucky, again, monster price in the plate. If Fergal O'Brien manages to get back this horse back to his former glories, then he could be bang there once again. And then going into Friday, wherever Copet de Boards goes, I feel like you've got to have the saver on him, such as the BHA French conversion rate of his mark. He's effectively, from their new conversion rate, got a stone. We know how well it went with the last best handicapped French horse was Gaelic Warrior in the Fred Winter. Subsequent form has shown he was well handicapped all the same, but Copet de Me, Valgrand for all of the Mullins, Skelton, stats for lads we've been talking about. I'm hoping Spindleberry will go to the Mare's Chase. She'll definitely see out the trip for sure. JetBlue in the Albert Bartlett to back up his trial win. Monty Sire, if we get a decent enough, well, feels nice to have even each way plays in the Gold Cup, would just be the balaclava note for that. And finally, Beat the Bat in the Martin Pipe for me as well, again at a decent price, in the hope that the step up in trip will just find him that better comfort zone as well. So there you go, there's my rattle through my selections as they currently stand ahead of the Cheltenham Festival. So I've been holding on to them right until now. But lads, unless you've got anything else to point out or to say, then we're pretty much done at this point. Andrew, any last words?
No, that's it. Naps for this weekend. We're going to go down that.
Oh, good point. I forgot about this weekend. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
How the tables have turned. You reminding me of a nap.
No, I'll go for Spirits Bay in the Imperial Cup.
Spirits Bay Imperial Cup. Nicely done. Dave, a nap of this weekend or any final words?
Yeah, that is definitely that Belliano in the EBF final. I think he's
Yeah.
got less questions to answer than anything else, and I think it's got everything in his favour for a big run. So he's the nap of the weekend.
Perfect. Right, lads, that has been a lot of work, a lot of races to go at across this weekend, across next week as well. Do make sure, though, to stay tuned to the lads' social channels, columns, all of the above, because as we've just been saying there, that things in this game can happen in an instant and change. Horses can be deviated from one race to another. So we're doing our best, as we always do, but do make sure for any sort of up-to-date news to find the lads' social channels there and their columns as well. But, lads, that's pretty much us done. So I've got to wish you both all of the best of luck for next week. We're not going to have a show next week because all three of us will be in the Guinness Village or somewhere on Thursday next week recording time. So lads, have the best week. Best of luck to you as well with your bets for the 2025 at Cheltenham Festival, and we'll speak to you again very soon.